Hey guys, welcome to SENBEN. Today I'd like to talk about blessings. Recently, I've been thinking about the idea of inalienable rights, things that every human being deserves. This belief in inalienable rights is something that we take for granted in America because it's stated by our founders of the nation. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, the Declaration of Independence. Whether it be through movies or through the abundant love that I was blessed to receive from my parents, somewhere along these lines I began to believe that love was one of these rights. I always believed that one day I will be frolicking through the grass like Simba and Nala in The Lion King, or confessing my love in the rain like Ryan Gosling in The Notebook. It all just came down to waiting for the right moment. Therefore, as the years passed and my love life seemed stagnant, I began to become really frustrated. I kept running into these unfortunate situations that prevented me from having romantic love in my life, whether it be distance or lack of passion or girls who just straight up told me that I looked too ugly. I felt like there's some kind of divine force preventing me from finding my other half. Eventually, the struggle took over my whole being, and because just by putting so much effort into the search, I started to feel like the search defined me. I felt irrelevant, meaningless, and alone, and like there's no happiness even though I was accumulating these wins in my non-romantic stuff I worked for a successful men's fashion YouTube channel, and I was part of a dance crew that performed at dance competitions, and I dabbled in music, and I was part of a YouTube channel with over 1 million views and subscribers, and I spent years because of that traveling through Asia and eating all this amazing food from different Asian countries. And in retrospect, I feel like all this stuff that I earned through my blood, sweat, and tears was the stuff that I dreamed of. I should have been really excited for this, but at the moment, I couldn't really be excited because I couldn't ever feel happy because none of the joy ever came from, getting the girl, right? Realizing that I had essentially, given my power over my happiness to people who didn't give a damn about me or who didn't even know me, right? Placing the value of my success not on my own merit, but on outcomes that were out of my control. Not noticing that all the blessings that I had accumulated and the love that I had already had from my family, friends, peers, and God. So thinking about all this, I start to ask the question, what is love? This whole time I've been thinking about it through the Western sense, of romantic love. But as you can see, through questioning it, love just seems arbitrary. So for me being a Tennikyo follower, I became curious to what love meant in the Tennikyo sense. So I did a little research and I found that the word love is only said in the sense of parental love in the Ofudesaki or any of the books that I read in Tennikyo stuff. So there's never a sense of romantic love in any of the Tennikyo books that I've read. Actually, through looking at all the books, not once is love mentioned or romance or any of this type of Western love courtship ideology is ever mentioned in these Japanese books. So I started to realize that the reason for this is because in early Japan or in Japanese history, marriage was a family endeavor. Because once someone became of marriageable age, the family would or the community would find a suitable match for each person, which kind of made sense to me because, I'm a product of an arranged marriage. So with this in mind, I took another look at my problem, trying to find out, what the root is. What is this yearning that I have for love? Then as I began to dissect these feelings that I have, I looked for new words that defined what I was looking for. I realized that I was craving validation and devotion to another human being. And once I realized this, I looked for this type of feeling or, these words in the Ofudesaki and found many instances of, validation and devotion in the form of God's love for human beings. In the Ofudesaki, it's written about the acts of love that God does for us on a daily basis. Take the world, for example. Consider all the conditions that need to be met so that Earth could be a habitable place for humans, or like any planet right? When we look for habitable places outside of Earth, it seems almost impossible. Because, like if we just look in our solar system, for example, Earth is the only place or the only planet with the perfect habitat for us humans. Or even on the individual scale, God's blessings are evident in our own bodies. If you ponder how hard it is for us to control all the factors for our human body to live comfortably, then you realize, how much stuff that God's doing for us. The muscles necessary for breathing, eating, using the restroom. When you think about, all this stuff and trying to work these manually, man, you begin to realize that it's like it just takes a miracle, right? Because it's being done every day automatically through the blessings of God. We don't even think about it. We could just live comfortably, unconscious of all the meticulous tasks that are needed for us to be alive, And if you think about it, is that not a form of love? In Tennikyo, there's a term called innen. In English, that could be translated to causality. In the Osashizu, it's written, listen and understand this truth called causality. Even if you try to cause something to happen, it may not happen. Even if you try not to let something happen, it may happen. Such is the truth of causality, I say. That was written on May 31st, 1894. Giving us things and withholding things is all the guidance of God to get us on the right path. Which is why I started to realize that these things that we call inalienable rights should actually be called God's blessings. From food, shelter, friends, family, to being loved, all these things are blessings. Things that should not be taken for granted and should be actually received with the utmost gratitude. As, all these things are stuff that God gives us in accordance with our minds. This frame of mind is called joyous acceptance, which is the use of mind that is closest to the joyous life or God's intention. God loves us and created us for the purpose of living a joyous life. This is why it's easy to see that in the search for self, we can easily get distracted and lost in the things that are meaningless. This is why God works every day to lead us toward happier horizons. Every event, interaction, and challenge that happens in our lives is for this end. This is the reason I don't feel alone anymore. Thinking about all the events that led me here, I could finally see the bigger picture. Because each struggle led me to become the man that I am today. Each trial tested my beliefs, driving me to gain the knowledge and the skills that I use as the tools that lead me on the right direction to live my joyous life. Looking in retrospect, I feel blessed. I feel a tremendous amount of gratitude towards God for being patient with me, because it took me such a long while for me to get to this place. I could now see that God was always by my side, helping me to find my way, my own way of living the joyous life.